My son Marcus is 8 years old, and he is everything to me. When you raise a child alone, you learn to trust your instincts about the people who come into his life. I always believed family was the safest place for him. That belief shattered the night my sister Zephyrah brought home her new boyfriend, a 42-year-old man named Derek. Something about the way he looked at my son made my stomach turn, but I could not name it yet. Before we dive into this story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. If you find value in stories like this, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Now let me tell you how I almost lost everything trying to protect my boy. 3 years ago, my wife decided she wanted a different life. She packed her bags, moved to Oregon, and left me with full custody of Marcus. I will not lie and say it was easy. Those first months were brutal. I learned to braid hair from YouTube tutorials. I burned more dinners than I care to admit, but Marcus and I found our rhythm together, just the two of us against the world. My sister Zephyrah became our anchor during that storm. She is 5 years younger than me, just turned 30 last spring. Growing up, we were inseparable. When our parents worked late, I walked her to school. When she had her first heartbreak at 16, I was the one who sat with her through the tears. That bond only grew stronger after my divorce. Zephyrah would come over 3 or 4 times a week. She helped Marcus with homework while I cooked. She took him to soccer practice when my shifts ran long. Marcus adored his aunt, and watching them together always warmed my heart. Our little trio had built something beautiful. Friday nights were movie nights with too much popcorn. Saturdays meant breakfast at the diner on 5th Street, where Marcus always ordered the same chocolate chip pancakes. Sundays we spent at the park or visiting our parents across town. Life felt manageable, even good. I had stopped waiting for the other shoe to drop. Then came a Thursday evening in late September. The leaves had just started turning, and I was finishing up dishes when I heard Zephyrah's car pull into the driveway. Marcus ran to the door like always, but he stopped short when he saw she was not alone. A man stepped out of the passenger side, tall and thin, with salt and pepper hair, that made him look distinguished in a way I immediately distrusted. His smile was too wide, too eager, like someone who had practiced friendliness in front of a mirror. Zephyrah practically floated through my front door. Her cheeks were flushed, her eyes bright with that particular glow I recognized from her past relationships. But this felt different somehow. She seemed almost desperate for my approval as she introduced him. "This is Derek," she said, squeezing his arm. "We have been seeing each other for 2 months now. He is the most wonderful man I have ever met." Derek extended his hand to me. His grip was firm, but his palm was damp. His eyes did not quite meet mine. Instead, they drifted past my shoulder to where Marcus stood half hidden behind the couch. "And who is this young man?" Derek asked, his voice dropping into something softer, warmer. "That is my nephew, Marcus." Zephyrah beamed. "Is he not the cutest thing?" Derek crouched down to Marcus's level. "Hey there, buddy. Your aunt has told me so much about you. What grade are you in? Do you like sports? What is your favorite video game?" The questions came rapid fire, each one delivered with that same practiced smile. Marcus answered shyly at first, but Derek had a talent for drawing children out. Within minutes, my son was chattering about his school, his friends, his favorite cartoon characters. I watched this unfold with a growing tightness in my chest. Over dinner, I learned that Derek worked at a community center downtown. He ran the youth programs there, organizing activities for children from underprivileged neighborhoods. Zephyrah spoke about this like it proved his sainthood. "He spends all day helping kids," she said. "He has such a gift with them." I nodded and chewed my food, slowly buying time to observe. Derek asked Marcus more questions than he asked me. He complimented my son constantly. "What a smart boy, such a handsome kid. You must be so proud." The words themselves were innocent enough, but something about the intensity behind them set off alarms I could not silence. After dinner, Derek suggested he and Marcus play video games in the living room while Zephyrah and I cleaned up. I agreed reluctantly, positioning myself at the kitchen counter where I had a clear view of the couch. What I saw made my hands go still in the soapy water. Derek sat close to Marcus. Too close. Their shoulders touched, and Derek's arm rested along the back of the couch behind my son's head. Every few minutes, his hand would drop down to squeeze Marcus's shoulder or ruffle his hair. He leaned in to whisper something that made Marcus giggle. The whole scene looked innocent enough that I felt crazy for finding it disturbing. "Look at them," Zephyrus said beside me. "Derek is so good with kids. That is why he works at the community center. He just has this natural connection with children." I made some non-committal sound and kept watching. Derek caught me looking, and his smile flickered for just a moment, something passing behind his eyes too quickly for me to identify. Then the warmth was back, and he was praising Marcus for winning the game. That night after they left, I could not sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every interaction. The way Derek's gaze lingered on my son. The physical closeness that felt inappropriate, even though nothing technically wrong had happened. The questions, so many questions, all focused on Marcus. I told myself I was being paranoid. Protective fathers often were. But my gut had kept me safe through 2 tours overseas and 15 years of life experience. It had never screamed this loud before. The following weeks brought Derek into our lives with increasing frequency. What started as occasional visits became a regular occurrence. Every time Zephyrus came over, Derek came too. And every time he arrived with gifts for Marcus. The first gift was a remote control car, easily $60. The second was a new video game Marcus had mentioned wanting. Then came action figures, candy sports equipment. Each present was carefully chosen to appeal to my son's specific interests. Things Derek could only have learned by paying very close attention to everything Marcus said. I started keeping track. In 3 weeks, Derek had spent at least $200 on my child. When I mentioned this to Zafira, she brushed it off. "He does not have kids of his own," she explained. "He just wants Marcus to like him." Is that so terrible? What troubled me more than the gifts were the invitations. Derek constantly suggested outings with Marcus. We should take him to the batting cages, just me and him, so I can teach him properly. There is this great arcade downtown. I could pick him up Saturday afternoon. The Science Museum has a new exhibit. Marcus would love it. Each time I found an excuse. Marcus had homework. Marcus had a play date. Marcus was not feeling well. My refusals became a source of tension between me and Zafira. She accused me of being overprotective, of not giving Derek a fair chance. I could not explain my reasons without sounding paranoid, so I just kept saying no. Derek's disappointment when I refused these requests seemed too sharp, too personal. A normal adult would shrug off missing a trip to the arcade with someone else's kid. Derek's face would fall like I had taken something precious from him. Then he would compose himself quickly, that mask of pleasantness sliding back into place. What really crystallized my suspicions was noticing what Derek did not do. He never engaged meaningfully with the adults in the room. When my parents joined us for dinner one night, Derek answered their questions politely, but briefly, always steering the conversation back to Marcus. He showed no interest in Zephyr's work stories or my fishing trips. His attention, his energy, his enthusiasm, all of it, flowed toward my 8-year-old son. One evening after they left, I found Marcus sitting on his bed, unusually quiet. "You okay, buddy?" I asked, sitting down beside him. He picked at a loose thread on his blanket. "Dad, why does Uncle Derek text me?" The world stopped. I kept my voice calm through sheer force of will. "What do you mean, son?" Marcus pulled out the old phone I had given him for emergencies, the one with limited apps and contacts I had personally approved. He showed me a string of messages from an unknown number. The texts were friendly on the surface. "Hey buddy, hope you had a good day at school. Thinking about you, champ. You are the coolest kid I know. Miss hanging out with you." My blood turned to ice. "How did he get your number?" Marcus shrugged. "Aunt Zephira gave it to him. He said he wanted to check in on me sometimes." I scrolled through more messages. Derek had been texting my son for at least 2 weeks. Some messages included images, nothing inappropriate, just memes and funny videos clearly chosen to appeal to a child. But the tone was wrong. Too intimate. Too focused. And then I found the message that confirmed every fear I had. This can be our special thing. One text read, "You do not have to tell your dad about our chats. Sometimes grown-ups do not understand the friendship between a cool kid and his buddy. It is okay to have secrets between friends." I pulled Marcus into my arms, hugging him tight to hide the rage on my face. When I could trust my voice, I asked if Derek had said anything else like that. "He just said you might get jealous," Marcus said quietly, "because you and him are not close like me and him are." I spent that night drafting and deleting texts to Zafira. I needed to confront her, but I needed to do it right. The next morning, I asked her to come over without Derek. She resisted at first, suspicious, but eventually agreed. When she arrived, I showed her everything. The gifts, the constant attempts to be alone with Marcus, the text messages, the instruction to keep secrets from me. I laid it all out as calmly as I could manage, point by point, like building a case. Zephyra's face went through a journey as I spoke. Confusion gave way to disbelief, then anger. But the anger was not directed where I expected. "Are you serious right now?" she demanded. "You are accusing my boyfriend of being a predator because he is nice to your kid. I am telling you what I see, Zafira. The pattern of behavior, the grooming tactics. This is textbook." She stood up so fast her chair scraped against the floor. "Grooming. Do you hear yourself? Derek loves children. That is his whole career. He has dedicated his life to helping kids, and you are turning that into something disgusting. Nobody dedicates their life to other people's children like this," I said. "The gifts, the special attention, the secrets. This is how it starts." Zephyra was crying now, angry tears streaming down her face. "You are jealous. That is what this is. You have been alone so long you cannot stand to see me happy. You are inventing problems to sabotage my relationship because you are miserable and you want company. That is not fair, and you know it. What is not fair is you accusing a good man of being a monster with zero evidence. What is not fair is you trying to destroy the best thing that has ever happened to me." She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. "If you cannot apologize to Derek, do not expect me to come around anymore. I will not subject him to this paranoid harassment." The door slammed behind her, and I stood alone in my kitchen, shaking. I had lost my sister. I might be wrong about everything, but when I thought about Marcus, about those text messages, about Derek's instruction to keep secrets, I knew I would rather be wrong and hated than right and silent. Zephyra's departure left a hole in our household. Marcus asked why his aunt stopped visiting. I told him Aunt Zephyra and Daddy had a disagreement that adults sometimes need time apart, just like kids do after a fight. He accepted this with the resilience children often show, but I caught him looking at her picture on the refrigerator with sad eyes. I could not sit idle. If I was right about Derek, other children could be at risk. If I was wrong, I needed to know that too. So I started digging. The internet revealed little. Derek had no social media presence, which was unusual for someone who worked with youth programs. A search of public records showed he had moved 4 times in 5 years, always to different cities, always for jobs involving children. Each move seemed to coincide with leaving a previous position, though the reasons were never listed. I reached out to people who might know more. A contact at the community center where Derek worked confirmed he was well liked but kept to himself. She mentioned that Derek spent a lot of time with the boys in the program, more than other staff members, but she had never witnessed anything inappropriate. Then I found a thread on a local Facebook group. Someone had posted asking about youth program recommendations, and one comment mentioned Derek by name. Not as a recommendation, but as a warning. I messaged the commenter privately. Her name was Patricia. She had a son who participated in a program Derek ran 3 years ago in a different state. Her boy had come home with expensive gifts he could not explain. Then came the text messages. Then came requests to spend time alone. Patricia had complained to the organization, but without concrete evidence of abuse, they could only transfer Derek to a different department. He quit shortly after and moved away. My hands trembled as I read her story. The pattern was identical. I contacted the local police to ask about running a background check on someone I suspected might be dangerous to children. The officer was sympathetic, but explained that without a formal complaint or evidence of a crime, there was little they could do. He suggested I document everything and encouraged me to trust my instincts. Meanwhile, my mother decided to host a birthday gathering for my father. The whole family would attend. Zephyra had already confirmed she was bringing Derek. My mother begged me to keep the peace for one evening to let the family have a nice celebration without drama. Against my better judgment, I agreed to attend. The party was at my parents' house, a ranch-style home where Zephyra and I had grown up. Streamers hung from the ceiling, and a banner proclaimed, "Happy 65th birthday," across the living room wall. Relatives I only saw at holidays milled around with plates of food, making small talk about weather and sports and health complaints. Zephyra arrived with Derek on her arm. She looked beautiful in a blue dress, her smile wide, but her eyes cold when they landed on me. Derek shook hands with my father, charmed my mother, played the role of perfect boyfriend flawlessly. I watched from across the room, keeping Marcus close. For the first hour, I managed to position myself between Derek and my son at all times. When Derek approached, I redirected Marcus to get more food or say hello to a cousin. Derek noticed. I saw the flicker of frustration behind his pleasant expression quickly masked. Then my aunt pulled me aside to show me photos from her recent trip to Florida. It only took 3 minutes. When I turned back, Marcus was gone from where I had left him. So was Derek. Panic seized my chest. I excused myself abruptly and began searching the house. Kitchen, living room, dining room, backyard where kids were playing. No Marcus, no Derek. I climbed the stairs 2 at a time, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The hallway was quiet. My childhood bedroom now a guest room. Empty. The bathroom. Empty. Then I reached Zephyra's old room and I found the door closed. I did not knock. I twisted the handle and pushed inside. Derek sat on the edge of the bed. Marcus sat beside him, their heads bent together over Derek's phone. The room was dim curtains, drawn door closed against the noise of the party downstairs. My son looked up at me with confusion. Derek's face went through several expressions in rapid succession before settling on innocent surprise. "Hey there," Derek said smoothly. "Just showing Marcus this cool game on my phone." The party was getting loud, so we came up here for some quiet. "Marcus, go downstairs," I said. My voice did not sound like my own. My son obeyed, slipping past me without argument. When he was gone, I stepped closer to Derek, close enough to see the slight widening of his pupils. "You do not get to be alone with my son," I said quietly. "Not now. Not ever." Derek stood, and suddenly he seemed smaller than he had before. I was just being friendly. "You are completely overreacting. Stay away from Marcus. That is the only warning you will get." I turned and walked out, leaving the door open behind me. Downstairs, I found Zephyra already in the kitchen with Marcus, her face flushed with anger. She must have seen him come down alone. "What did you do?" she hissed when she saw me. "I found your boyfriend in a closed room with my 8-year-old son. They were just playing games," she snapped. "You are sick. You know that? There is something seriously wrong with you." The argument escalated quickly. Other family members gathered, drawn by our raised voices. I said what I had been holding back for weeks. I listed every warning sign, every red flag, every gut feeling that told me Derek was dangerous. Zephyra screamed that I was paranoid, jealous, delusional. Our mother tried to intervene. Our father demanded explanations. In the end, Zephyra grabbed Derek's hand and announced they were leaving. She turned to me with tears streaming down her face. "I am going to marry him," she said. "And you are not invited. You are not my brother anymore." They left. The party dissolved shortly after. I drove Marcus home in silence, my hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel. My father called that night and said he believed me, but needed more proof before he could confront Zephyra. My mother just cried. I had lost my sister to protect my son. In that moment, I would have made the same choice 1,000 times. 3 weeks passed in a fog of tension. Zephyra blocked my number. My parents walked a careful line trying to maintain relationships with both their children. Marcus asked less about his aunt, sensing the topic was painful. Life continued in its broken way. Then my phone rang on a Tuesday afternoon. The caller identified herself as Margaret, a name that meant nothing to me. But her first words made me grip the kitchen counter for support. "I saw your post in the community safety group," she said. "About Derek. I need to talk to you about my son." An hour later, we met at a coffee shop downtown. Margaret was a woman in her 40s, well-dressed, but with the exhausted eyes of someone carrying a heavy burden. She had a folder with her thick with printed documents. Her son Tyler had been in a youth program Derek ran 4 years ago. The story she told mirrored everything I had experienced. The excessive attention, the expensive gifts, the text messages, the requests for alone time, the instruction to keep secrets. When Margaret confronted the organization, Derek denied everything. Without evidence of physical abuse, nothing could be done. Derek resigned before an investigation could proceed and moved to another state. "I reported it to the police," Margaret said. "They took my statement but said there was not enough to charge him with anything. Then he was just gone." She had spent years monitoring online communities searching for his name, hoping to find others who had experienced what her family went through. My post had given her hope. "You are not the only one," she said. "I have found 2 other families. Same pattern every time. He is careful. He never crosses the line far enough to get caught, but he keeps finding new children." Margaret gave me contact information for the other families. Over the next week, I spoke with each of them. A father in Ohio, whose daughter had been showered with attention by Derek during a summer camp program. A mother in Texas, whose twin boys had received secret gifts and messages. Each story was nearly identical. Each family had tried to report him. Each time, Derek had slipped away before consequences could catch up. I compiled everything into a detailed document: dates, locations, names, patterns of behavior. I presented it to a lawyer who specialized in child protection cases. She reviewed the material with a grim expression. "This is a serial pattern," she said. "But pattern is not proof. What we need is either testimony from a victim about actual abuse or physical evidence." "Then help me get it," I said. Together with the other families, we filed a coordinated complaint with the police department. Multiple reports from multiple states describing identical behavior. The lawyer made calls to contacts in law enforcement, emphasizing the seriousness of the allegations. The weight of multiple families speaking in unison created pressure that one voice alone could not. The investigation moved faster than I expected. Police obtained a warrant to search Derek's residence and electronic devices. What they found changed everything. Derek's computer contained thousands of images. Some were legal but disturbing photos of children from public sources collected with obvious intent. Others were not legal at all. Hidden folders, encrypted files. Evidence of participation in networks dedicated to exchanging illegal material. Derek was arrested at the community center in front of colleagues who had trusted him with vulnerable children. The news spread quickly. Local stations ran the story. His photograph appeared on screens across the city, that friendly smile now carrying a sinister weight everyone could recognize. Zephyra called me that night. I almost did not answer. Her voice was barely a whisper. They showed me what they found on his computer. She dissolved into sobs. "I did not know. I swear I did not know. How did I not see it?" I let her cry. There was no satisfaction in being right, only a hollow relief that the danger had been stopped. "He was going to be around my kids someday," she managed. "If we had gotten married and had children." "But you did not," I said. "He is gone now." She apologized over and over, for the things she said, for choosing him over family, for calling me paranoid and jealous and sick. I told her I forgave her, and I meant it. Zephyra was a victim too manipulated by someone who had perfected the art of deception. The weeks that followed Derek's arrest were dedicated to healing. Marcus met with a child psychologist who specialized in cases like his. After several sessions, she assured me that while Derek had begun the grooming process, he had not progressed to physical abuse. We had caught him in time. I held Marcus extra tight when I heard that news. Every difficult conversation, every family argument, every sleepless night had been worth it. My son was safe because I had listened to the voice inside me that said something was wrong. Zafira entered therapy to process the trauma of being deceived by someone she loved. The guilt she carried was immense, knowing she had unknowingly brought danger into her nephew's life. I visited her often, reminding her that predators are skilled at manipulation, that she could not have known that loving someone does not make you responsible for their hidden crimes. My parents became advocates for child safety in our community. They organized workshops at local schools about recognizing grooming behaviors. My father, who had once asked for more proof, now told anyone who would listen that a parent's instinct should never be dismissed. Our family grew closer through the ordeal. What could have torn us apart permanently instead became a foundation for deeper trust. We had faced the worst together and survived. Derek's case went to trial 8 months later. Multiple families testified. The digital evidence was overwhelming. He was convicted on multiple counts and sentenced to 12 years in prison with lifetime registration as a sex offender. On the day of sentencing, I stood outside the courthouse and breathed in the cool autumn air. Marcus was at school living his normal 8-year-old life, unaware that his father had just watched justice delivered on his behalf. What I learned through this experience is something I carry with me every day. Your instincts as a parent exist for a reason. They are millions of years of evolution telling you when something threatens your child. Do not let politeness silence them. Do not let family pressure override them. Do not let anyone make you feel crazy for protecting your kid. Sometimes loving your family means fighting against them. I risked my relationship with Zephyra to keep Marcus safe. I would make that choice again without hesitation, because at the end of the day, my job as a father is not to be liked. It is to protect. If you are watching this and something feels wrong about someone in your child's life, trust that feeling. Document everything. Tell someone. Keep pushing until you are heard. You might be wrong, and that is okay. Being wrong means your child was never in danger. But if you are right, your vigilance could save them from a lifetime of trauma. I want to ask you something before you go. Have you ever had a gut feeling about someone that others dismissed? What did you do about it? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might help another parent trust their instincts. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Share this video with other parents who might need to hear it. The more we talk about these warning signs, the harder we make it for predators to operate in shadows. Thank you for watching and for caring about the safety of children everywhere. Stay vigilant, trust yourselves, and hold your kids close.